Hi everybody. Today we will talk regarding one of the painful, from my perspective, point of React application development: integration with API. Couple words or pictures about me. I work as fractional CTO or staff engineer with a startup from Silicon Valley, and I part of my day set up technical processes, technical stack. Other part is writing code, including React applications. I share my experience in different channels as GD from the previous year and my Telegram channel, Not Recipes. Subscribe if you doesn't follow me right now. And also I lead GTG Cloud Kiev for share my experience regarding cloud native development. But let's jump to today agenda. What we will talk about? First, before sell you solution, I would like to highlight you pain what we have during API integration. Next, we will see difference between SDK and API. And I truly believe that after that, you will see the difference. Next, we will have two examples for code generation for GraphQL API and for REST APIs for your React application. A typical question would I receiving during presenting ideas from this talk is what to do if we don't have API specification, and why and how we will try to sell needs of API certification to your backend developers, production product owners, and any type of managers. And the last but not the least, at the end of this talk, I would like to add you one more reason to know React. Even if you're not writing React, you need to know that for be in modern trends of software development. So let's start. So API integration pain. Before share this, I would like to challenge you with some typical question what I am asking during interview for React engineer position. On the screen you can see that, and what I would like to highlight here is what step you would like to take to ensure that solution is efficient. So I expect that during interview, answering on this question, you will provide from 7 to 10 steps. And if you watching this video in record, my recommendation is pause it and write as many steps as you can imagine regarding answering on this question. Of course, I will not do this pause, but I will show you my typical response. And one more thing. One of things is missing here. It should be 10. And look, you need to create API client for GraphQL or for REST. It can be Access or maybe Fetch. You need to define types for output and input. Of course, we need this only for our TypeScript project. For JavaScript, it's just optional. We need optionally validate input and output data. If because of some reason you don't trust your API, you need to validate what you will receive from them. You need transform data for most cases. You want to have different data models in response and what you will use in your application. Typical example from API, we receive JSON, so it's strings. For example, for data, When you have, for example, published at field, you want to transform from string to date type. Next, because we're using React, we want to create hooks for state management. During the waiting response, we will show spinner or loading words, error handling. For cleanup, we need a board control. Retry logic is very important for be sure that even with low quality network connection, you will provide good user experience. We need to add loading skeleton. We need manage cache for performance optimization. One thing is missing. What is that? I didn't put here that we will reuse API client, but for every of your requests, you will have, for most cases, specific endpoint. So 10 things to things about integration with your API. It's painful. Of course, you can say that there is some typical solution that will reduce your boilerplate code. Of course, here I provide this list from the low uh, quality to most quality. With Apollo client, you have almost everything of that, including cache and retry logic. You have this from the client. It's cool, but anyway, you will need to write a lot code, and you know it's it's painful. It's really painful because if I will compare these things with front end, you know this typical map. You know this. And here you can see that from my perspective, it looks very different because front end nowadays, when you need to integrate with API, looks very painful, but very clean what you need to do in backend. Why? Because you will have different approaches. For integration QAPIs, we use SDKs on backend in your Node.js application. But on front end, I don't understand why we creating a lot of code. We repeating again and again API client creation. We creating a retry logic. We creating types when they already defined in the backend code. And just for highlight how easy work with SDK, look at that. This is typical example when you need to receive data from Stripe API and how we operate with Node.js. If you will compare this what you have in React application, it's only 5 lines code, but in React you will write for typical request, provide me a list of 10 data from backend, you will create 50, maybe 100 lines of code, including defining types. So, what we need to have SDKs? First of all, we need to have API contract. API contract in some specific format like OPI, Open API, or Postman collection, or even GraphQL schema will describe you endpoints, response request models, and how you need to authenticate. This contract are required for make SDKs. On this screen, I provide you how big companies typically resolve API specification question. And Stripe, for example, has only Open API. Cloud vendors has different formats, and of course, Open API is the most popular. I didn't I didn't add here uh, GitHub. I think it's the biggest company who provide API as GraphQL. But anyway, we have API specification, and because of that, we can have SDK in any language because SDK is after generated. Here on this slide, I just highlighting for you that source code for Stripe not package mostly after generated from API spec, and this thing is highlighted on every such files with this command. How process looks like of SDK generation. We parse API contract. In this moment, we extracting models, data types, and points. Then we generate SDK with this data. Based on needs for your framework language, we adding authentication, retry policies, error handling, loading, and of course we adding docs. Inline docs for provide the best developer experience. And the same things I strongly recommend to do in your React application. We have for that all tool set, and I will demonstrate you during next chapters. But before we'll jump to that, I would like to emphasize main ideas of this talk. API should have contract defined as specification. Client integration code should be generated from this specification. Code generation provides clear boundary between integration code and application code. And even more, for some projects where such ideas are integrated, the SDK for communicate with API is automatically publishing on every new API release, and you install this as a package. It's provide the best developer experience, and I wish you to have this experience in your project. Let's see how this works. I will start this demonstration for GraphQL API. Why? Because GraphQL by the nature has your schema, it has your contract. With REST, you don't have this by default, but the most powerful part of GraphQL is not choosing what field do you need, but that you have the schema. And this is one thing what you need to strongly remember during choosing your technical stack. So, what is a typical solution? And I think it's top one, and you even don't need to choose something other for generate your client integration code. This solution is provided by the guild, and we have GraphQL code again for that. Let me show you how this works. So, what you need for that? First of all, you of course need your contract. You can see on my YouTube channel that I typically demonstrate for some real production code this trial base product where I participate. And here we can real schema. It's not very big, so there is not more than 2000 lines of code of the schema. We can see here that we have several mutation, there is list of queries, and the first things we have schema. And inside code GAN, we even has ability to download the schema, and here let me do like this one. You see we using such plugin for update schema GraphQL file every time when our API is changed. Next things what you need to set up for GraphQL case, you need to define your queries. Why? Because in REST, all the time you requesting some API endpoint. In GraphQL, you need to provide your queries. I recommend you do something like this. So you have your request as queries, and you can easily found in code how it will be used. And this GraphQL wrapper for this text line is after generated. Then we can use that in such way. So we have typical use query from Apollo client, and you have all type after generated. You can easily receive the benefits of code generation. Code generated folder looks like that. You have a lot code what you will even not open, but you have all required types and you have full support. Let me summarize. Step of preparation when you want to use code again from the guild. First, you need to open, of course, documentation and follow that, but main idea, you create code again.test. For that, you will install such packages. And then you create your queries and generate your code. Not many project has such luxury as received GraphQL API. Most of project has just REST API. And if you have REST API and you don't need in this case create your React toolkit or React queries, but every time you need only schema, and I will demonstrate you this my personal preferred solution for that with React query. So let me show you documentation here. You can see that we can do it very easy. We install the package, we define that we will do it like this. Of course, this CLI tool has some options, and then you're ready to use generated code in your code base. Let's see this in action. So, what we have here. For demonstration reason, I'm using pet store what is default example of open API. You see that there are not many endpoints, not many entities. Let's see what we have in packages on. Of course, we have client fetch and we have our React query. We use TypeScript for received benefits of after generated types, and we use this package as described in the documentation. Let me delete this generated folder. You can see that I provided this as output, and let's just open terminal and run code again. And we ready. Small file, very fast time of generation, so you can even not store this inside your Git repository. I personally store that for make fast review what we're going here. So inside queries, there is index that we only will provide these things, and there is your queries. You can say that I want to use list paths, and you already have your hook. You don't need write any lines of code for received types, for received uh, your client setup, all of that. So it's what I strongly recommend to do for have efficient and painless API integration. We check two examples, and let me continue. Typical problem what you can see on REST projects that there are no API specification, and what to do in this case. This is no software problem. It's typical problem for communication with people. And what I typically do when I have a power to sell some solution for engineering teams, for product owners, I trying to add process what is part of extended 20-factor manifest. If you don't know what is that, please Google, because it's one of things what can speed up your engineering career. So, extending 20-factor manifest provides API design first principle. And what this principle says that we need talk about API before implementation. It's simple idea. We talk about design of our user interface before implement that. We see this in Figma, but for API we do integration and confirmation that we have all required endpoints after it's already implemented. It's created a lot of problems, and we cannot make splitting front end and back end task. So we would like to have not only API contract, but also changing the process. And during implementation, this API design first principle, typically you receive as the first step schema for existing API. How API design first principle implement, and why we need to do that? What benefits? How to sell this? You can see this on the slide. First of all, it speed up development, and one of the reasons because you can remove all manual work of creating API layer integration code you will receive this after generated. You can split front end and back end work in parallel, because when we have approved API schema, we can start to mock this and write code. Even more, for GraphQL, for example, we have local resolvers and typical solution for GraphQL project that when we discuss how schema will look like for new features, front end don't use any mocks of API. It's used local resolvers and then just replace them with real API queries. So what you can also use for selling this idea is these slides. I copy pasted this several times for product generation, and this help to understand relationship. So solution architect, information analyst, and software engineer work together on API design, and it's for big companies. Of course, for startups, typically we have just front end and back end who, during one call, define what they want to change in schema. Let's go to the next things. I'm jumping too fast. Let's imagine that you tried to sell this idea, but you failed. Of course, not all people would like to add additional processes because of budget limitation. People are lazy, and maybe there are some other reason. But in this case, instead of writing your code inside integration, you can write code in other language. What I'm trying right now to sell you. First, one of the maps. At the start of this year, Type Spec, new language from Microsoft, create the first meme about himself because of making deprecated decorator. And this picture was in Twitter and Telegram. If you missed that and you didn't read about TypeSpec, let me explain what is that. TypeSpec is language very similar to TypeScript. And TypeSpec provide you ability to write less lines for received your open API. TypeSpec is designed for describe your types for your API. It can be used for Open API. It can be used for gRPC. Even I saw some example for generate models for data in database, or of course for GraphQL. And see the difference. You have 10 lines of code would will provide you the same uh, information as your Open API. With JSON schema, again, you can use that with protobuf. And why I provide you this solution? Because you can write this code and you can generate from this code your Open API and use one of the tools what I demonstrate you. So, TypeSpec is new language to learn what can increase your chances to receive promotion. Check this, add to your to-do list. Next things what you need to know is from the same team would created TypeSpec. It's Microsoft teams, similar like we have dedicated team for TypeScript. We have dedicated team for TypeSpec inside Microsoft organization. From the same team, we have one more reason to know React. Even if you're not JS developer, similar like I, you need to know React. And answer our question, why is Alloy framework created by TypeSpec team? Let's check what this Alloy is. Give me 1 second. Where is that? Okay, so you can see on this documentation that they describe how to use it. So we have React like JS6 for define your code generation. Why they even need this? Because if you will check documentation of TypeSpec, they have emitters for emit from your TypeSpec code your code. And this is not recommended solution right now. They know that they will replace it with Alloy framework. Um, we expect at the end of winter that it will be stable according to Discord, where you can talk with team members. And this solution is the last demo what I would like to show you. So what I have here, I have very simple code for 3 files what I would like to generate. You can see that I imported from Alloy.js core components similar to what we have in React. And for example, this things is reference, and I would like to see how it will be generated. I don't make any changes inside file system, but it's obvious how to do that. Let's see how this will work. So here in npm start, I just build it and then run, because this as everything nowadays created in TypeScript. npm start, and let me highlight it more. And here we can see that content is generated. I can use that for generate based on my OpenAPI or type spec by parsing that I can generate code what I need. So it was a lot content in my talks, but I would like highlight you main ideas of this talk. You should have API specification. If because of any reason backend doesn't provide it for you, create your own. And when or if they will corrupt the contract, you can make a finger point. Why we have changes here? Why nobody say about that? Integration code you should generate from that specification. And the last but not the least, if you have this SDK instead of manual created code, you have clear boundary between integrated code and application code. It's big benefit.